Welcome to another deep dive. We've got something special lined up for you all today.
It's great to be here.
And I think this one's going to resonate with a lot of people. We're going to be taking a deep dive into Philosophy Terrace by Henry Manumpiring.
Oh, excellent choice. A lot of wisdom in those pages.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been skimming through some of the excerpts that were shared with us, and already I'm seeing some themes, like how to handle life, basically, the ups and downs, the things we can control, the things we can't.
Absolutely. I think at its core, that's what Stoicism and what man empiring is presenting here is all about. Finding that sense of inner peace, that stability amidst a world that's, well, let's be honest, often pretty chaotic.
Chaotic is putting it mildly sometimes.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Every day there's something. News, work, relationships, your own internal struggles. It's a lot.
It really is. And it's easy to get swept up in it all, to feel like we're constantly reacting to whatever's thrown our way. But Felicity Terrace, I think, offers a way to step back from that, to gain a little bit of perspective and maybe even find some, I don't know, sense of calm in the middle of it all.
A sense of calm. Yeah, I like that. And it's not about ignoring the chaos, right? It's not about pretending everything's fine when it's not. It's more about, I guess, choosing how we respond to it.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about recognizing that we always have a choice in how we react,
Yeah.
even when it feels like everything's spinning out of control.
So how do we do that? I mean, it sounds great in theory, but when you're in the thick of it, it's hard, right?
Right. It takes practice. And one of the key things Felicity Terrace emphasizes is this distinction between what we can control and what we can't.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I can't control the weather, but I can control whether I bring an umbrella.
Exactly. But it goes deeper than that. See, Philosophy Terrace says we can control our thoughts, our judgments, our actions. These are all internal things. But external events, other people's opinions, the economy, those are outside our direct control.
So if someone cuts me off in traffic, I can't control that, but I can control how I react to it, whether I let it ruin my whole morning.
Precisely. And so much of our stress, our anxiety, comes from trying to control the things we simply can't. And then naturally, we feel frustrated and upset when things don't go our way.
It's like we're setting ourselves up for disappointment.
Right.
In a way, yes. But what's fascinating is that Philosophy Terrace suggests that by letting go of that need to control everything, by accepting the things we can't change, we actually gain a sense of freedom and power.
Freedom. How so?
Because when we stop wasting energy on things outside our control, we can focus that energy on what we can influence, our own actions, our own responses, and that's where our true power lies.
Okay, I'm starting to see it. So it's not about being passive, right? It's more about being strategic, choosing our battles, so to speak. Exactly. And recognizing that often our perception of a situation causes us more suffering than the situation itself.
Yeah, that rings true. Like, let's say you lose your job. It's a tough situation, no doubt. But it's our thoughts about it, our fear, our worry, that really amplifies the pain.
Right. The event itself is neutral. It's our judgment of it that makes it good or bad, positive or negative.
So Philosophy Terrace is encouraging us to kind of question those judgments, those automatic reactions we have.
Right, absolutely. It's about creating a space between an event and our emotional response. A space where we can choose how we want to react instead of just being swept away by our emotions.
So practically speaking, what does that look like? I mean, how do we actually do that?
Well, one way is to simply become more aware of our thoughts, to pay attention to those stories we're telling ourselves about what's happening. And when we notice a negative thought, to pause and ask ourselves, is this thought really true? Is this the only way to look at this situation?
It's like hitting the pause button on our internal monologue,
Right.
taking a moment to assess before we react.
Exactly. And over time, this practice can help us to become less reactive and more intentional in our responses. And it also leads to a greater sense of inner peace because we're not constantly being tossed around by our emotions.
This is all making a lot of sense. It's really resonating with me. Now, another thing I noticed in the excerpts was this emphasis on virtue, like living a virtuous life. What's the connection there?
Ah, yes. Virtue is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. And in Philosophy Terrace, it's presented as a way to guide our actions, to help us make choices that are aligned with our values.
So what kind of virtues are we talking about here?
The classic Stoic virtues are wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. But in essence, it's about acting with integrity, fairness, reason, and self-control.
So let's say I value honesty, and I'm in a situation where lying might be easier, might benefit me in the short term. But by choosing honesty, even if it's difficult, I'm acting in accordance with my values, with virtue.
Precisely. And that alignment with your values brings a sense of inner peace and strength that external circumstances can't touch. It's like building a foundation for your life that's unshakable.
It's interesting because it shifts the focus from achieving specific outcomes, which we might not always be able to control, to the way we go about achieving them, the process itself.
Exactly. And that process, when guided by virtue, becomes its own reward. It brings a sense of fulfillment and meaning that goes beyond external success or failure.
This is all incredibly powerful stuff, and I can see how it can be applied to so many areas of life: work, relationships, even just our own internal struggles.
Absolutely. It's a philosophy for life, as Man Empowering presents it. And another key aspect of that philosophy is acceptance.
Acceptance. Okay, tell me more.
Well, it goes back to that idea of control.
Hmm.
We need to accept the things we can't change. The fact that life is impermanent, that challenges and setbacks are inevitable.
I mean, that's not always easy to do.
Yeah. No, it's not. But it's essential, because when we resist reality, when we fight against the things we can't control, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves.
Well, so it's about surrendering to what is, in a way.
Surrendering, maybe. But it's not about giving up or becoming passive. It's about acknowledging reality as it is and then choosing how we want to respond. And that response, as we talked about earlier, can be guided by virtue, by our values.
So it's a two-part process: accepting what is, and then choosing how we want to act, how we want to move forward.
Exactly. And I think this acceptance also extends to our own imperfections, to recognizing that we're not going to be perfect all the time, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think we all struggle with that to some degree, the pressure to be perfect.
They do. But philosophy terrorist reminds us that perfection is an illusion. And by accepting our imperfections, by being kind to ourselves, we create space for growth and learning.
It's about embracing the journey, right? With all its ups and downs.
Exactly. And finding that inner peace and strength amidst the chaos.
Wow, this has been a truly insightful deep dive into philosophy terrace. It's given me a lot to think about.
I agree. And I hope it's done the same for our listeners.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. As you go about your day, your week, think about the challenges you're facing, the things that are causing you stress or frustration, and ask yourself, what aspects of these situations are within my control? And how can I respond to them in a way that aligns with my values?
That's a great question to ponder. And remember, it's a practice. It takes time and effort to integrate these principles into our lives, but the rewards are well worth it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.